Hey everybody, it's John the Phone Guy here, and was meeting with some friends this past weekend and showing them the display case I made, and so they asked if I'd do a video about how I put it together. So this is kind of the one that I'm going to model after. It's sitting in a IKEA cabinet. The dimensions, I'll give it to you. This is one for my size watches. I believe it's like 2 and 7/8 by 3 5/8 or something like that. I'll have the numbers a little bit later when I get to it, but I'll kind of go through how this is all put together. But I want to kind of show you somewhat the end result of what this is going to look like, and so we'll continue from there. Hey everybody, so I'm kind of in the kitchen island. It's the spot I could find big enough to set this. So this is the base drawer. In fact, this is the one I'm going to be working off of. But I wanted to give you some dimensions on this. So let's see if we can get this here. The inside diameter, which is important when you're working with the other parts inside. So this is 26 1/4 by, I know this is probably going to be hard to see for most of y'all, 19 5/8. The wood on this is 1/2 inch thick, and it's 3 inches high. And then the bottom of this is 1/4 inch, and you can kind of see you don't really need a lot of fancy wood. And to just be honest, I didn't build this. My father, who is much better at woodworking than I am, put this together for me. He had some oak laying around, and as you can kind of see right there, it's just a straight butt joint, and then he screwed it, glued and screwed, and then puttied over the ends. So nothing elaborate on the sides or anything, only because, and I told him it didn't matter much, because it's just kind of in the closet. But obviously if you wanted to get fancy with 45s and all kinds of stuff, you can do that. But just wanted to kind of show you what this looks like. So overall, it's like 27 3/8, a little bit more than that, wide, by 20 and a little bit more than 20 3/4. And the reason I had him build it this way is because when you put the rail runners that you kind of saw going down the side here, which is a 1/2 inch thick, I actually had to run like the width of a saw blade down the edge of this to make it fit. But that way, and I use I think it's a 22 inch full open, so that when you pull it, it comes all the way out. So the back, comes all the way out for it. So that's kind of what we're going to start with. And let me grab the insides and we'll kind of show you what that looks like. Okay, so here we have the parts, and basically I've already cut these, just so you know. But this is, and you can get it at Hobby Lobby. It's 1/8 inch foam board. I think it's like $5.99 for a 35 by 40 piece. So these are the 26 1/4, which is going to go horizontal, side to side in it, and then these are going to be the front to backs, and they'll kind of line up, and you'll do notches and everything. So these are all 3 inches high, and cut the length. The fabric, I went ahead and pre-cut all of these. So these are cut with just a little bit of overlay, and I cut these at 6.5 inches, because you got 3 and 3, and then just that little bit of gap, so it gives me a little bit to work with. The way that I came up with all of this, and it was a massive spreadsheet, but basically what I did is I figured the outside edge, you know, that's a 1/4 inch, and then I started working through how many pieces I could get. And this is for my wife's watches, which they're smaller, so that's why I'm going with 1 3/4 inch width. So that's going to give me 13 slots, and of course there's 14 pieces. And then on the dimensions, they're going to be 3 inches high, you know, front to back. And that's going to give me 6 rows, so that means 7 pieces that are 26, so you know, that way. And then there's going to be 14 of them this way. So that's kind of how I did this. And as you can see, I kind of played around with some numbers, knowing that I needed to end up somewhere around 26 1/4 wide. And then of course I worked around a little bit, so that's 19 3/4, and I'm working with 19 5/8, so I'm close enough. You know, one being just slightly a hair different. So I went down to like 1.625, which I think is 1 5/8, and I went up to 2 1/4, and it seemed to be that fit the best for her size watches, because most of her watches are around maybe 1.5 inches. There's some that are probably 1 3/4 inches. The one that you're looking at that I showed you was built against these specs. So the ones that has my watches, they're 2.875, which is 7/8. So 2 7/8 going this way, and then 3 7/8 high. So almost 4 inches high and almost 3 inches wide. And that's how I got to the size I got. So mine are 9 across and then 5 deep. So that was just kind of where it kind of came from. So this was really helpful if you want to figure out what you want to do. Now these foam pieces are 1/8 of an inch thick, but once you wrap it with this fabric, this is called San Sebastian. It's from Joann's. I want to say it's around 17, 18 a yard, and then 56 inches wide on the roll. When you glue this together, you get basically a 1/4 inch, so that's why I did the number that way. I'm not going to do any gluing tonight because cutting all these different pieces and everything was a bit laborious, and my back is a little sore from it. But just kind of want to give you, this is like the 4th one now, so I'm getting a lot better at this, at least I hope so. And we'll get tomorrow to start showing you gluing these things up and what we're going to do with it. All right, and we'll be back for more. All right, everybody, so this is what I've done. So that picture of the piece of sheet metal that I bought from Home Depot, you can see the size and everything. It was 6 by 18. So now I've cut it into 4 pieces of 3 inch by 9 inch, and this is what I'm going to use to make the template for cutting the notches in the boards for the aligning slots. So I just want to look at what, so this is what I use. I use a Dremel. That was what I just used just to sand it off. But I use like a cut wheel, and masking tape and everything to measure it off. And so that's how I got to here. So these are, tried to sand them down as best I could so I don't cut myself on them. But that's it so far. Hey everyone. So I've got one of the templates cut. So this is going to be my 1 3/4. So I've got a 1/4 inch here, and then 1 3/4 inch, and then so that's 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/4 inch, and then 1 3/4 in between. And that's what I'm going to use as my cutting jig when I do that piece. And so that one's done, and we're getting ready to work on the 3 inch. And just so everyone remembers, the 3-inch is for this one right here, and that's the 1.25 inches that I just completed. So here we go. Hey everyone, so working on the 3-inch. So I've got one notch cut. Well, I got the first notch and then the first 3-inch, and I've got this measured out for the 3-inch gap and then the 1/4 inch. I'm going to try and video this running the Dremel. It's going to be all kinds of loud, so we'll see how we do trying to muffle this thing. So here we go. Alright, if everyone can hear me, that was using the Dremel. Of course, I got headphones on, a bandana on, I got a hat covering down to the bottom of my, top of my eyes. This stuff goes everywhere, and the white was just some foam board that I kind of taped together to keep all the sparks off of me. So there we have that piece. So here's a quick look at the finished templates. So here is my 3-inch. So I got the 1/4 inch notch, 3 inches, 1/4, 3 1/4. Then this is my 1 3/4 that I'm going to use for the other direction. So those are all put together, and next is going to be gluing up all of the fabric to the boards. All right. Hey everybody. All right, so we've made it to the gluing phase. And what you've got there is the back side of one of the fabrics. So what I use on the board so I can hold onto it and do it is a little corn on the cob holder. It's kind of slid in there. So what we're going to do, see if I can do this, is so with this you just kind of spray it. So we'll kind of just get this one set up, and I use a towel so I don't get my table all sticky. So we're going to let that set for a few minutes. Let it get tacky. I'm out in the garage just because this stuff stinks. But I'm actually going to take it inside so that I can work on it on the kitchen island. It's the biggest, flattest, hardest surface to work with, so it makes it easier. So let me go do that and be right back. Okay, so I got that sitting on the island. I'm going to spray this and get this ready. Stuff is really stringy. As you can see, kind of cobwebs up on you. So he's kind of swinging around a little bit. So I'm going to set that right there for a second and get set up inside to show you how I glue it. So here we have, I'm going to try and lay this down. Now I cut these pretty tight, so you really have to lay this in there. Okay, and then turn this, get it flat on that one edge, and then fold it over and kind of work my way from that one edge to try and get the everything to adhere really well. So we can kind of get this thing one more time just to, so I'm pushing from this folded end out, try and get it smoothed out. Now I'm going to take this 2x4 and I got a 5-pound weight and I'm going to set that on there to help set it. So there we have that part. Hey everybody, so yesterday finished gluing all of the pieces together. So here's the stack of them right here. I did one or two already, but I was going to show you how I trim them out. So here we go.
Started here.
Okay, so you can kind of see, I mean, we're kind of trimmed up. I mean, this is not an exact science, so I mean, it's just, you know, kind of getting it so everything's no overlaps and everything. So when we get ready to start cutting the notches, it's a little bit easier to lay it out. So we, it's about 4 down and about, I think it was like a total of 21 altogether. So we'll just kind of keep working at it. All right, everybody. So we got everything trimmed out, and so I'll just kind of show you. That's the short side. This is the long side. So this is the side that's going to be towards the front, and this is the side that's going to be going front to back. So this is going to be the 3-inch, and then this is going to be the 1 3/4 here. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to take this template, a 3-inch, and I'm going to notch, and everything's going to be notched from the top going down. And then on this end, this is the 1 3/4. I'm going to notch from the bottom, and then that way, the way they line up, they'll line up like that. And that's just kind of how everything kind of lays out. Of course, this is your width, right? So the watches aren't as wide, but the watches are still fairly tall. So that's where you get the stagger. So that's what it's going to look like, and we'll start cutting some up here in a little bit. Okay, everyone. I was trying not to talk in that last one so that I could speed it up as much as possible, because this stuff is tedious. But what I did is I made one of the end plates. As you can see from the outside, everything looks smooth, and I just hollowed it out because this will be one of the ends. If I turn this around right, so that will set in there, and then it'll set flush, so you don't see the end like you would otherwise. So that's what that is going to accomplish. So I'll make another one of these where I just kind of cut this edge and then hollow it out with like this little screwdriver. So I just use this screwdriver to kind of dig out as much of the foam material so it sets in there well. But that's the so that's the idea around the outside. So it just sits there and just sits right in that notch and then covers it up so you don't really see all the white foam. And that's going to be how it's going to go. So I've got a whole lot of cutting to do, and once I get it all cut, I'll make another one, putting it all together and setting it in the drawer. All right, see y'all in a little bit. Hey everyone, so I wanted to kind of give you a breakdown. I cut one of each. So this is the long one that goes left to right. This is the 1 3/4. So you got the 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 slots going across, and then this one obviously is top to bottom, so you got 1 2 3 4 5 6. So the way this will work is these go horizontal, these go vertical. So the way this works, I'll just kind of show you just quickly, is that's going to line up, and that's what's going to, obviously you keep going, so you got a slot here, that's what's going to line all of these up. So that's how basically the whole, and so you can see it's once you get all of this, it becomes a lot stiffer. The reason that I do the long ones going down, because I figure with the length of this, it would be a lot harder, if you're picking up, if the noodle or something gets stuck or whatever, it would be a lot harder for this to lift up out as it would the short pieces. So that's the gist of it. And you can see, like, these I cut from the bottom, and these you cut from the top. The only ones that will be slightly different, and I'll show this eventually, is on the end. This is going to be like this together, and so on 2 of these, I'm going to leave this piece of the fabric on here to cover up this edge, so it'll be open on the inside, but then the cloth will stop right there, and it'll be one continuous, because that's what's going to stick up out of the box by about maybe about a 1/4 inch or so. So that's the idea behind that. All right, so here we go. This is going to take a while. Hey everybody. All right, so we got everything cut, or notched I should say, and all fitted together and in the wooden case. So this is what it looks like now. The last thing I gotta do is I gotta cut the pool noodles to fit in here, so that takes a little bit of time. But we have 13 slots by 6 rows, so this one is obviously built for my wife, for women's watches, because generally she only goes to about a 42 millimeter, so she can get a lot more in. This same wooden frame, for me, I can get 9 by 5, so I can get 45. So just point of reference. So this is it. As soon as I get all the noodles cut and everything, we'll do one last video, and that'll be it. Hey everybody. All right, so we have completed it. So here is, let's see if I can back up and get it. So that's the whole thing. Of course, I haven't put the rails on, for the mounting it, but I mean, that's normal. And then just, to define it. So these are just pool noodles, and I just made a little cutting jig to measure this distance and then cut them all with an X-Acto. So the watch is just kind of set in here, and that's pretty much it. Just got to get it mounted, and then add the watches, but that's it, stem to stern of how I put these together. Hope you all enjoyed it, and let me know if you got any questions or comments. All right, and thanks a lot.